everyone. Welcome to Creating Space. And today we're going to talk about preventing burnout and finding your balance in times of crisis. And with us is renowned psychologist and author Dr. Carandang. I know you know her already, but let me just introduce her to everybody. Dr. Maria Lourdes Carandang is a certified specialist in clinical psychology, counseling psychology, developmental psychology, who also served as president of the Psychological Association of the Philippines from 1981 to 1983. Being the pioneer of play and family therapy in the Philippines, she was the founding chair and a past president of the Philippine Association for Child and Play Therapy. In 2010, she co-founded MLAC, which stands for her name and initials, as well as mindfulness, love, and compassion. And it's a psychological services for well-being that specializes in the well-being of the marginalized, the traumatized, abused, survivor of disasters, street children, OFW families left behind, and children in prostitution. And she has authored a number of books on these topics. For her various contributions to Philippine psychology, she has been conferred the Outstanding Psychologist Award by the Psychological Association of the Philippines in 1988, was honored as a National Social Scientist by the Philippine Social Science Council in 1995, and was the first ever awardee of Outstanding Professional for Psychology selected by the Philippine Regulation Commission in 2012. And she was conferred the title of Doctor of Science Honoris Causa by the Ateneo de Manila University in 2015. Oh my gosh. Friends, please help me welcome our beloved Dr. Maria Lourdes Carandang. Help me welcome her. Hi, Doc Connie.
Hi, thank you. Thank you,
Thank you
Karen.
so much for being with us on Creating Space.
Nice program, Creating Space.
We're so honored, Doc, to have you with us.
Thank you for having me.
And you're joining us from Batangas, Doc Honey.
Yes, we've decided to stay more days here in our farm. Actually, it's a forest. No, yeah, it's a forest. So, yun, we're here more days now, and we're so glad that we've developed this. We didn't know there was going to be a, pandemic, but now it's serving us very well. Yeah.
It's a nice refuge, Doc, no, away from the
city. Yes. Space and trees, nature.
And I've been listening to your YouTube. You've been talking about that, how nature actually helps us heal.
Yes. It's very, very healing, refreshing, uplifting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you can see that on your face, Doc. Being refreshed by nature, you show that. For all of you here, you know what? Dr. Carandang will answer your questions. So towards the latter part of the interview, please feel free to ask your questions away. And she really wants to answer that.
I want you to ask questions. Yes.
Yes, Doc. But first question, people are talking about this, COVID burnout and pandemic fatigue. Can you please tell us more about this?
Yes, very important. First of all, burnout. No, this is burnout due to COVID, but burnout in itself, I think people talk about it that maybe there's no awareness of what it is composed of. No, what makes burnout? What's burnout really? What's it ba talaga? Kasi burnout is really a syndrome, meaning marami siyang symptoms. No, it's very important to know it kasi if you don't know what it is, if you don't know that it's starting to happen, you cannot prevent it. No? So actually, one of the symptoms are very, very all over us. No? Physically, emotionally, and spiritually, those three aspects of our lives are affected by burnout. What is it? No? First, there are kasi ang syndrome made up of different symptoms, di ba? Iba-ibang signals. So the first signal is very important. It's the body. No, in burnout, the body is a lot of pain and fatigue. No, you feel. So listen to your body, very important, so that when you prevent burnout, you always listen to what's aching in your body. Ganon. That's one. Then, of course, emotional exhaustion. Pagod na ang puso ko. Sabi nila, pagod na ang puso for caring, because when you care too much and you don't take care of yourself and you take care of others, napapagod din ang iyong puso. It's actually emotional exhaustion. So that's the emotional part. And then the spiritual part is really you're eroded, no? Parang wala ka ng gana, you don't have the enthusiasm to do what you usually enjoy doing. Now you don't even have the enthusiasm to do it, you don't have the energy to do it, and you also question your competence. Burnout makes you ask, am I really right for this job? Baka I'm not doing it well, and then you feel like you're inadequate in accomplishing what you need to accomplish. Parang hindi mo nagagawa yung dapat mong gawin. So all those symptoms, all those signals coming from the body, from the emotion, and from the mind, telling you you're not accomplishing enough, you're not competent enough. All these things are part of a burnout phenomenon, syndrome.
Doc Honey, sobrang tumatak sa akin yung pagod na yung puso. Because at walang healing community, our phone numbers are flashed there. So people can call us, kami ni Ai. And it's not just once. It happened to me a lot of times already when people will call and say, you know what, I'm crying. I don't know what's happening. But when I wake up in the morning, I'm just crying and crying and crying. And that's not just one person telling me that.
Yes.
Number of people. And they can't understand why.
Yes, that's important, because that's actually, well, first of all, if we have to relate it to our context ngayon, yung COVID. The pandemic is 1.5 years. We thought it would end sometime last year, or kala natin, ano? So number one, it's also so many things happening that are weighing on people. The human system is overloaded, no? For example, yung anxiety. No, there's so much anxiety now among almost everyone. In fact, sinasabi ko minsan, it's normal to be anxious during these abnormal times. No, so so parang almost na yun, everybody has a certain level of anxiety. So we'll talk about how you handle it, no? And then another thing that's happening is uncertainty. We don't know what's gonna happen. Somebody's well and then nawala na yung tao, and then we don't know when it will end. We're not clear about the whole thing, no? When it will end. Kala natin mababa na, tumaas, ganon. So that uncertainty always leads to anxiety.
So we're dealing with two things, Doc, anxiety and uncertainty.
Yes, and uncertainty leads to anxiety, and also we're dealing with a lot of losses. We're also grieving, collectively grieving, no? For example, loss of lives, first of all, no? Loss of people die. I mean, more, suddenly, and we don't know why, or bigla na lang. So sometimes it's unpredictable, but also loss of freedom, no? The things we used to do, we cannot do. We cannot just go out. We cannot just go to a mall and have, parang magpalipas ng pagod. We're confined. So another thing that's true is confinement also leads to feeling of being trapped, no? Being not able to move freely. So we've lost so many things actually, and so we have to be aware that we are actually going through a collective grieving. No, we're grieving. So to be aware that you're grieving also helps, because you're sad, you're grieving, you lost something. So parang malungkot. We know that we are losing. We have lost so many things already. Yes.
Thank you for pointing that out, Doctora. Actually, I love that you said that we lost our freedom.
Yes.
Because of the pandemic, sometimes we don't talk too much about it. Parang people just encourage us, no, stay at home, take care of the front line, because we have to think of the frontliners. But sometimes you have to acknowledge that. But it's so acknowledge that it's also restricting.
Very, very restrictive, constrictive. So it's also because of the daily togetherness in confinement also leads to conflict, no, and stress. It's normal that we will be stressed and there will be conflicts. Imposibleng walang conflict because before you could just go out when you're feeling bad or when you're angry. You don't have to, stay in the same place. So it's really something very, very important to know how abnormal our situation is. I mean, how difficult the situation is. So we have to also take care of ourselves and know that we're dealing with something. And the other thing that's important also is that we come together, we talk about it. We talk about it. We don't just, make tiis. We talk about it, we gather together, we talk to each other, we accompany each other. We know that we are not alone.
That's true. Pero
Oo.
Doktora, mahilig tayo sa tiis. Lalo na Filipinos,
Mm-mm.
titiisin kung kayang tiisin. At saka you know
Oh,
what, I've been interviewing doctors and mental
yes,
health professionals for
yes,
for more than a year. You're the first person who told me we've lost our freedom and we should
mm-mm.
grieve for it. Like we've lost
Yes.
our freedom. It's okay to grieve that
We
we've
should
lost.
grieve. Yes, collective grieving. We just grieve together. So we know that we are not alone. To know that you're not alone is also very important in your mental health, in taking care of your mental health, no? And also we cannot anymore deny that we are all interconnected. Dati kasi what you do is your own business. Now it's not like that. We have to be aware that we affect everybody else. If you don't wear a mask, you say I don't care. Even if you don't care, other people are affected. You are now aware that your behavior has impact on other people. Interconnectedness of human beings is now very clear. What you do affects the other person. So,
Yes.
hindi pwedeng wala kang pakialam. Hindi na pwede. You have to be aware of the impact of your behavior on other people because it's very clear now that somebody who infects someone, that just walks with, doesn't is not careful, doesn't wear a mask, and ganon, does something that's violating, you're not just responsible for yourself anymore. You're responsible for all the people around you. We're all connected. So that's also important to know that we are connected. We are responsible for ourselves, but we're responsible for the people around us. Now
That's
it's very clear, very clear. Yes.
yes.
Mm-mm.
I agree with you, Doctor. Now it's very clear that we have to take care of each other and we have shared responsibility. But first, you said that our responsibility is to ourselves because
Yes.
you said that we have to acknowledge first and foremost that there's anxiety, there's collective grieving, there's uncertainty, and sometimes people feel trapped. So how do we resolve this, or how do we work
Co-
with how do we cope given the COVID pandemic, the COVID
yes.
burnout?
Yes. The one practice that works with me and I've shared with people is mindfulness, the mindfulness practice. It's being aware of what's happening inside you, your thoughts, your feelings, and you own them so that you don't project it to the other person. So you're aware, I'm angry, I'm sad. So you don't, when you're angry, let's say you're a parent, you're angry, and then you don't own it. You're just angry because somebody talked to you in a bad way or may kaaway ka, then you go to your child, the child does something, tapos ang galit mo sobra. Be aware that your anger is not only caused by the child's behavior, but you're already angry. So if you own it, you can be mindful and you don't have to put it to like displace it to your child because you think you're angry because the child did that behavior, but actually you're already angry because of something else. So it's not fair, no? Because you then bubuhos mo lahat ng galit mo doon. Sabi ko, kasi itong batang to napakatigas ng ulo. Pero actually, you have to own that you already have anger before that. Own it first so that you don't become angry in a proportionate way. Kasi kalahati ng anger na yun, nasa iyo na eh. Wala naman sa bata yun eh. So that's mindful parenting, no? Mindfulness. But also, most important during this COVID prolonged pandemic is learn to first take care of yourself before you can take care of any other person. Because what I have to say that all the time because people are Filipinos tayo, we're guilty when we take care of ourselves, especially the women. We always have to take care of others first before we take care of ourselves. That's not right. That's not sustainable. Because if you don't take care of yourself, you cannot take care of any other person, even your child. No? Because you will not sustain whatever you need to do if you don't have self-care. So we have to remove that misconception or that belief that when you take care of yourself, you are selfish. No, when you don't take care of yourself, you are selfish. Because when you don't rest and you're irritable because you didn't take care of yourself, you're angry, you're irritable, madali kang magalit kasi hindi mo inalagaan ang sarili mo, you make other people around you miserable. So I always say, rest is a moral obligation.
Yes, that's the point that I like in your YouTube when you said
Yes,
that rest is a moral obligation, because
obligation.
some of us, even if you're not a mother, sometimes naman you're such a hard worker that you finish tasks at your
Yes,
own expense.
exactly. And that's not sustainable. So how can you continue to do your work if you don't take care of yourself? So it's not selfish, it's your obligation. To yourself, it's obligation to the people around you, it's obligation to your God to rest, no? And then the other thing is take breaks. Take breaks, small breaks and big breaks. Even small breaks. For example, you're already tired. You can just say, excuse me, go to the restroom, wash your hands. Mga 5 minutes lang yun, but you're refreshed. No? So you have to know when to take breaks. And how do you know when you need to take a break?
Yeah.
Your body will tell you. There is a pain in your body, there is a pain in your arms, there's a pain in your neck, etc. You have to know the signals. The body is your truth teller. The body does not lie. So if you listen to your body, for example, ang simple lang yan, let's say masakit yung batok mo, ignore mo lang din, maya mo wala yan. Bakit mo sabi, batok, masakit, gaganunin mo lang sandali and then you rest for a while. That just 2 minutes of rest will take you a long, long way to avoiding burnout. Many ways of doing, when you're already so punong-puno na parang hindi mo na alam gagawin mo, excuse me, I'm going to the restroom.
Yeah. There's
Then
actually a quote that I remember. Like somebody said, if you're too busy, you need 1 hour of meditation. But if
another.
you're not busy, you need a minute. But somebody who's busy needs longer time of rest.
Yes, well, that's different pa yung rest, no? The rest you do during the day. When you're working, you stand up and rest. You go to the CR, take a little walk. When you're walking, you breathe, yes, and my deep faith in God. Dalawa lang. And the mindfulness practice takes care of everything. Takes care of your body, your mind, your peace of mind. No, you know how to pause. Because what mindfulness does, it makes you respond instead of react. Kasi when something happens, you react agad-agad, no? So parang victim ka na nung circumstance. But if you're practicing mindfulness, because react means feeling or emotion, action. But in mindfulness, emotion, action, pause, action. Emotion, feeling pala, and then pause, action. So there's a pause. In that pause, you are able to do something better. Hindi sa sumigaw ka agad, no? Sumigaw ka agad, ka agad, nagalit ka agad. But if you're mindful, you pause first, and then you don't regret it. Kasi when you're reactive, you regret it eh.
That's true. Like
Yeah,
you're
because,
saying,
yeah,
Doctor, responding first. So the pause allows you to respond.
instead
And
of react, yes. Because one of the things that we need to watch out for is that when we are too reactive, somebody talks to us agad-agad, nagagalit tayo. Somebody does something agad-agad, nagre-react tayo. Sometimes, most of the time when we react, we regret it kasi, ay, dapat di ko nasabi yun. Ay, dapat di ako basta sumigaw. Ganon. So, it's also a counteracting impulsivity. We also regulating your emotion and counteracting impulsivity kasi impulsivity is emotion, action. Hindi mo walang thought, walang thoughtful action. Yan,
so
that's
slowing down helps. Pero Doctor, what you're saying
yeah.
also, it's a practice for you. Like you said, while working, you go out and walk,
Mm-mm.
and do something. If you're drinking water, parang it's like a part of a lifestyle.
Yes, that's what very good. That's what I want to say because there are two ways of practicing mindfulness. One is the Western, the other is the Eastern. No, the Western was like 40 something years ago. It's like a strategy, a skill that you learn, but the Eastern is 2,500 years ago. It's a way of life. Even it's a way of talking. For example, merong, let's say in meditation, there's a bell, no? In the Western, you say strike the bell. In the Eastern, you say, I'll invite the bell to sound.
Oh, I
Di ba
like that.
iba?
I like the second one better.
Yeah, just saying something differently changes the whole feeling, the whole atmosphere, the whole interaction because you are mindful. Ibang klase ang effect niya. No? So even just the words you use are kinder. No, there's a kind. Let's make the world a kinder world by practicing that. Because in the East, it's the definition of mindfulness involves uh, warmth and kindness. In the West, it's just non-judgmental. So
Yeah.
iba.
And
So
you talk
important.
about that a lot, Doctora. And
Yeah,
that's why you said that in this crisis, affirmation, love, kindness, and compassion is so
yeah,
much needed. You talk
yeah,
about
yeah.
this.
Yes. Well, the bottom line is, of course, before you can do all of that, you have to take care of yourself. Okay? Be aware of what you're feeling, take care of your body, take care of your health. I have a spiritual practice always. The deepest part of that, what how we take care of ourselves, our body, our health, everything is in the core of it is always spiritual, not necessarily religious, but spiritual. A connection with a higher being, knowing that you are not the wisest. There's something, someone, a being that's more wiser, better, supreme being. I think I really had that firm belief in my old age. Before I was not religious at all. I was not a religious person. I'm not a religious person. I'm just a spiritual person. So,
But how,
yeah.
so you're talking about faith, Doctora, and you
Yes.
said it saved you.
It's what? Sorry.
You talk about faith, and you
Yes.
said that deep faith, aside from mindfulness, really
Yes.
helped you at this
Yes.
time.
Yes. Yes. Because the belief, no, the the genuine belief that you are not the only one in charge of your life. Kasi in the Western, I have both the Western. In the Western culture, you are in charge of your life totally. Everything in your life you must control. You do something. Everything depends on you. But I think there's something very dogmatic or not so helpful about that kind of belief because we are all imperfect. I mean, so there are things that you are cannot do as a human being, no matter how smart you are. So there's that humility to accept that certain things I cannot do, and I let it be. I will let go and let God. The letting go is also important.
To
Don't
surrender, Doctor.
surrender, accept. Don't try to control everything. Not everything is within your control.
But you know your aura. The first time I met you, because this is the first time I'm meeting you, and earlier before the live was the first time I meet you. Your aura was just so happy. You're the happiest person I met today, and I
Really?
met 60 people just today. I met 60 people. You're the happiest person I
Really?
met. Yeah.
Wow. You know, thank you. But I this ano, my teacher, Thich Nhat Hanh, who is a Vietnamese monk, said something that I find very, very important. He said, everybody, the whole world, everybody is suffering. Sabi niya, I will teach joy. But of course, I cannot teach joy, but I can share joyful moments. So I made a talk called Finding Joy in the Time of the Pandemic. So
Yeah.
that's another thing that I want to put forth in terms of how to cope, no? How to cope. You also find joy in little things. For example, somebody somebody smiled at you and you're not expecting it, or you when you're walking and then the sun is shining on your back and gives you warmth, or you look at the sky, ang ganda ng sky, it's limitless. The clouds may be there, but the sky is blue. It's limitless. Look at Let beauty touch you. Mga little things can give you joy. even in the pandemic.
And Doctor, that's what we exude. We exude so much joy. Tapos nakakahawa.
So, yun,
Oo.
you can really find joy in little things. In little things lang. For example, somebody cooked a nice meal for you. How nice, no? So it's really appreciating little things that we take for granted. We take for granted so many things in our lives that are happening. Who's running the household? Somebody's doing this, somebody's buying that, and oh wow, no, you just now in the pandemic you realize that you don't take things for granted. What people do makes a difference talaga.
Oh, that's so beautiful. What people do makes a difference. Pero, Doctora, you're being alone, even without you speaking, it makes a huge difference, to be really honest. And I feel it's your practice, no? Like you said,
Yeah.
every single thing and every moment, and you pause in between. It's
Yes,
part
yes.
of your life.
Yes, yes. And of course the also the balancing, no? I mean, I don't know if you want to talk about, I will ask me
Yeah, we'll talk about that. Pero, Doc, honey, we have to take a pause. But first, I have to say this. Sabi ni Ay, grabe, each sentence from Doc, honey is so full of wisdom. Quotable quote lang. And that's so
about.
true. Every single thing is a quote. Pang tweet. Tweetable
Pang tweet.
quote talaga.
Thank you.
For the next part, we'll talk about balance. We haven't talked about balance yet. But Dr. Hani wants to be with you. Like she said kanina, this is the time for us to come together. So she wants you to ask questions
Yes.
and she will answer it for you. So please don't be, tayo-tayo lang naman. Huwag kayong mahiya. Please feel free to ask questions. So we'll just
Yes.
take a 1-minute break. And when we come back, we'll talk about balance first and then we ask all your questions away. Okay, Doc
Okay.
Hani.
Okay,
All right.
great.
Thanks, Doc Hani. We'll
Okay.
see you in a bit. So we can just
Okay. I
help
just
people stay calm and spread calm at this time. And if we can just really lighten the load of everybody, and lalo na with the social distancing that's being done, we kind of feel alone. Even now, we're still on lockdown. And I just want people to know that, guys, you're not alone. Kaya natin to. Together we can do this. That's why we have programs every Tuesday, every Thursday. There's a class or a workshop which is free to the community so everybody can come together. Here are our programs on personal growth and healing for you. And so we're back. We're with Dr. Hani Carandang, and we're talking about how to prevent burnout and regain our balance this pandemic. Doc, before we let them ask their questions, can you please tell us how do we go back to balance? Like you mentioned, everybody's stressed, there's uncertainty, there's anxiety,
yes.
people feel
Yes.
confined, we're grieving.
Yes. Well, first of all, balance is the most basic principle of all life, no? It's biological yan eh. Everything wants to go on your whole body. If something is wrong, the blood goes to the certain place. Parang talagang ano siya, talagang there's a basic principle that balances our bodies that balances systems, families balance themselves. Everything that is alive tries to get into an equilibrium or balance, no? But then maybe we can talk a little bit more about what do you balance. So first of all, I think we have to balance between giving and receiving. We're always told that it's more blessed to give than to receive. But I think it's very important to be able to receive, because when you receive a gift or time, whatever it is from the giver, you receive it and you appreciate it. You're giving a gift to the giver. Yes, because when you don't appreciate the gift from the giver, you don't know how to receive, then that also makes the giver not feel good, but also it takes kind of humility, no? It takes basic humility to be able to receive. When you receive, you make the person, you empower the giver.
Pero Doc Honey, sakit natin yung Pilipino. Kahit nga
Yes.
kahit nga comment, "Oy, ang ganda mo ngayon." Hindi naman, hindi masyado.
O di
Oy,
masyado,
ang
ano
galing mo.
lang yun.
Yung
Yes.
even compliment na nga lang, Doc, ayaw pang
Cannot
tanggapin.
receive. So we have to learn how to receive. I
Yeah.
think most people know how to give, but very few people know how to receive graciously, not to accept affirmation, to receive and know that you're in the more vulnerable position. Kasi when you receive, you're more vulnerable. The giver is more powerful. So sometimes you don't receive because you don't want to be vulnerable. You want to be the giver, and the giver is more empowered, more powerful. So when you receive, you're vulnerable. You empower the giver.
But now I understand. Kasi, Doc,
Mhm.
that's my problem also. I don't
Mm-mm.
I'm a giver. Sometimes to an
Mhm.
extent that nawala nang matitira sa akin because I give
Ay.
everything.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
And it's so bad. But
That's
now
the
I'm
thing.
working on receiving.
Yes, balance, because receiving is also it's also a very big thing to be able to know how to receive.
And
And
thank you for explaining. The reason pala why it's hard to receive is because you feel vulnerable. Para
yes,
kang, you don't feel powerful or empowered
yes,
when you receive.
because the giver is the one that's powerful, and you receive, you're the one that's vulnerable, no?
Yeah.
So but it's important to know that you're empowering the giver. And that's okay. That's good. It's okay to be vulnerable and to be humble. Because when you receive, you're forced to have humility. No? To,
Wow. Marie Chris is saying, nice to learn how to receive po. Actually, this
yeah,
year ko lang na natutunan how to receive.
go for it. Balance it. Because most of us give and give and give, and then wala nang hanggang maubos. No? So again, there's a cycle. If you give and you know how to receive, hindi ka mauubos. But if you just give and you cannot receive, mauubos ka nga. Mababurn out ka actually. Especially in our work. Oo, when you
Yeah,
care
all of
for
the things
people.
that you're talking about, Doctora, you're talking about mindfulness practice. You're talking about, which is one of the key points is really pausing in terms of
Mm-mm.
mindfulness, and you're talking about the balance of giving and receiving. Um, at the end of it, what it helps you is everything becomes sustainable. When you take care of
Exactly.
yourself and when you do these practices, then you can continue giving and
Continue
continue.
giving, continue doing the work you're doing. Because if you don't practice you don't have these practices, you don't take care of yourself, you cannot sustain the work you're doing.
And
There's a
that's
book.
why.
Yes. There,
And that's
this,
why that's your answer also because that's the question people ask you. Why
yes.
can you continue giving when you're at a certain age already and when your
Yes.
schedule is so booked?
Yes. You need to receive. You need to know how to receive. And in receiving, you have gratitude, diba?
Yeah.
Gratitude. Yes. There's gratitude. There's humility and there's gratitude. And when you have gratitude, it really makes you more alive, makes you more fulfilled. It makes you happier, actually, when you're
Yeah.
able to be grateful, not practicing gratitude. Yeah,
Wow.
that's also important. So you receive. I'll tell you an anecdote. Anecdote. I don't know if it's so related, but I just remembered it in the disaster because we go to the disasters, no? The may
Yes.
Yolanda, mga ganun. The first disaster was in sa Baguio sa Nueva Ecija, Caranglan. So we went to Caranglan, and they were in tents. So I went inside the tent, and the people were kind of frozen with trauma. Kasi they lost their homes, they lost some of their loved ones. So they're in trauma. Wala silang bahay, nasa tent lang sila. Anyway, just a very little story, but for me it's important because then when I sat down, they were giving me water. Alam ko walang tubig, walang flowing water. Water and some kind of food. Siyempre in my mind, oh my God, baka yung water na yung contaminate. Hindi ba? Parang it's kind of dangerous. I mean, of course, the first thing you think of, saan nila kinuha yung water? Wala namang running water. Tapos yung food, baka siyempre, walang kundutuan, walang ano na tent lang na lupa eh. So of course, in my mind, sabi ko, naku, but I graciously received, sabi ko, God, bahala ka na. It's very important for me to be grateful and not reject their gift. What if I didn't receive it? I would never connect with them. I would never help them. I would never help them heal because I disconnected with them, already rejected them. I sort of like insulted them. And so bahala na ang Diyos. So wala naman nangyari. But the connection happened.
And when you received Doctora, you opened up to them. Di ba
Yes.
it's that act of taking it and you open up to them.
Yes. And appreciating what they're giving and not rejecting it.
Yay.
Oo. Para na mapahiya sila, di ba, when you reject
Yeah.
it. Oo.
Pero
It's
ang galing rin your story, Doctora, that people, even in the midst of crisis, in the midst of trauma,
yeah,
even, they have something to give.
they were giving. Sabi ko, wow, ano naman tao, naghanda pa sila ng something, no? Alam nga namang hindi mo kunin, di ba? I mean, that's the worst thing you can do is to reject it. Then how can you even connect with them? How can you even do your healing work with them? You disconnected ka na eh, instead of connected, no? Little things like that are parang very, very crucial sometimes.
Right. Ruth is saying full of wisdom. And we have questions na, Doctora.
Good, good.
Marie is asking, regarding emotional exhaustion, that has been difficult under this pandemic when you lose friends and colleagues one after another in this pandemic. The sadness and grief drag you to the pits.
Yes. Yes. That's very true. So yun na nga, pagod na yung puso mo, you're emotionally exhausted, and you also have to be aware that you're sad and you're grieving. I think you have to be aware that you have to undergo the grieving, the mourning process, no? You don't just stop there and say I'm sad. Own it. That's true. I'm sad. And it's normal to be sad when you lose someone, when you lose something, no? It's normal. So I'm sad and I will go through the grieving process para hindi ka ma-stuck. You can get stuck and just be sad and sad and sad, but okay, I will go through the grieving process. I allow my sadness to happen. I will do something. I will exercise. I will move my body, but I'm accepting that there is sad. In fact, I want to emphasize that because sa atin parang kuminsan bawal malungkot eh. Kung mayroon tayong ganyan, bawal malungkot. So I'll tell you another story. A mother brought her daughter to me. The daughter was like 10 years old. The mother said, she's so sad. I'm so concerned. I'm so worried. Why is she so sad? She's so sad. Make the long story short, the lola whom she was close to died. So sabi niya, but she's so sad. I'm so worried. She's so sad. So I paused and I looked at her and I said, I would be more worried if she wasn't sad. In other words, allow her to be sad.
It's okay to be sad.
Because she has every reason to be sad. If she Lola died and she's not sad, there must be something wrong also. It's more appropriate that she's sad because her Lola, whom she's close to, died. But in our society as parents, or sometimes we do not allow our children to be sad or family members to be sad. Parang, huwag kayong malungkot. Merong bagay na talagang nakakalungkot. Allow it. Allow different feelings to happen. No? Yun.
And like you said, Doctor, go through that process. Go through the grieving process.
Yes. Know that you're going through a grieving process. So merong magtatanong ka, why is this happening to me? You allow it. You allow because the process will move you to magagalit ka. There are many emotions that go, but at least you're not stuck. The important thing is you're not stuck and just said, I'm sad. Wala na akong magagawa. Parang ganon. I'm sad and I'm sad about this because I cannot, the many things I lost my friends. So I'm very, very sad. But I know that I will go through a process. That sadness is not the end, but it's the beginning of the process. No? So accept all the emotions that come and then it will move. The process will move into a better place.
Yeah. Ay,
Allow
wow.
yourself to grieve.
People are agreeing. Annie saying so nice. They're agreeing with what you're saying. So do you have other questions for Doctor? Because Doctor really wants to answer specific questions. Like, I hope we answered you, Marie.
I hope that I answered.
Yeah, I really. And then, Doctor, when you said there's a grieving process, are you talking about Dabda here? Or is there a process other process that she goes through?
Well, there is a process we go through, but it's not linear. Kasi meron ng classic, you go through denial, this is happening to me, and then you go through anger-wise is happening to you, ask question, Lord, why are you letting this happen? Namatay yung aking friend, wala naman siyang ganun mabait, everything. So you go through it. But the most important thing is you allow yourself to go through these different stages until you're able to surrender and accept.
At saka,
Medyo mahirap.
Doktora, all these different emotions pala eventually leads you to accepting it. Eh.
Yes.
Siya
Oh,
to go through the journey. Kahit na magagalit ka, magda-doubt ka, mga away,
yes. Yes.
ang daming lalabas, pero at the end
Correct.
of that journey, you'll get to acceptance.
Peace, yes. You'll find some kind of peace. But if you don't allow the real feelings to come out, you might get stuck and forever kind of bitter. You can turn bitter, when you're sad and you lost friends and relatives, family. You can just get stuck and become bitter about life if you don't allow the process to move. But the process will move because will have different feelings, different emotions will happen. Allow it. Most important thing is to allow it. Don't be afraid. Don't stop yourself. Allow it.
Allow it. And Mary Delos asking, I just cannot accept. Ito naman,
Mm-mm.
yet that my 70-year-old papa is starting to have symptoms of dementia just recently.
Okay, 74 years old. Okay, it's hard to accept, no? But the aging process, siguro maybe you have to look at the aging process, no? That there is a norm, there is a certain age where people start to have symptoms of dementia. I mean, it happens. What I'm saying is first you have to know that it happens, not just to your grandpa, but it happens to people, most people. Some happen at 54, some 78, iba-iba. But growing old entails some kind of loss of memory, some kind of type of dementia. So siguro, if you know that it is inevitable when we get to, like me, malapit na ako siguro, turning 78. So maybe you will really get into that process of like you start forget things, no? And then the dementia, like my mother-in-law had the start of dementia. And it's very interesting, this story, because people will test her, go to her, parang nag-ano sila, nagte-testing, sino ko, hindi niya maalala, no? Di ba ganon? So sabi nung husband ko, tinuruan niya, tinanong sa'yo, sino ko? Sabi ng mother-in-law ko, kung ikaw hindi mo alam, ako pa.
That's so cool!
So sige nga. So yun. So merong mga ways na you don't have to be so stuck in the sadness, because there are certain things also that people with dementia can enjoy. For example, this person I know, he's 88. He used to be so intellectual, lahat cognitive, alam niya lahat ng history, lahat ng political, everything, ang galing-galing ng brain niya. Now, he's having some kind of dementia, and the wife is telling me that now he looks forward to just looking and watching the sunset. He's enjoying the sunset. So sabi niya, ano ba to? Sabi ko, enjoy the sunset. But he never became emotional. He never accepted things like that. Imagine now, he's enjoying the sunset. So sit with him and enjoy the sunset with him. That's a joyful thing. You can be joyful when he's doing that. Don't just think that he's being demented. You can say,
Yeah.
wow, I can enjoy the sunset with him. Ganon. May
Yeah.
mga ganon. How you look at things.
Perspective, no, Doc? Another,
Yes.
another question from Lauren. What are your tips to get over languishing? Lauren,
Yes.
can you please elaborate on this? What exactly?
Languishing. Yes, languishing kasi was the word that New York Times gave. What's happening to us? We're languishing. Para bang you're languishing in prison. Nandun ka na lang, parang nabubulok ka na, something like that. You're just
Stop.
there languishing. Oo. Parang ganon, no? So, tips on languishing, yun. First, you have to exercise. You have to move your body. Move your body, most
What?
important.
Not
Yeah.
expecting that answer, Doc.
Move your body. We're languishing, and languishing is like parang nangganon ka na lang hanggang mabubulok ka na, no? Parang ganon. There's no real Tagalog equivalent is parang nabubulok, something like that, no?
Yeah. She said,
Kung
yeah,
ka na
you
lang,
feel stuck.
yun, feel stuck, correct. You're stuck, just languishing. Parang languishing in prison, di ba? That's a famous quote. So when you're languishing, that means you're stuck. So you have to move. Move your body first. Basic. Just move
So
your body.
do the opposite.
Yes, walk, run, whatever. Move your body, exercise, move like ganyan, stretch, move your body. For me,
In
that's a
Tagalog raw, nabuburyong.
yun, nabuburyong. Ang galing yan.
Tama,
Nabuburyong ka na. Very good. Nabuburyong. So, anong gagawin mo? Unang-una, wag mong pabayaan yung nabuburyong to have power over you, na wala ka ng magawa. May magagawa ka. So, the first, most basic thing you do is to move your body. Even to just walk first. Walk. No, that's
So,
number one.
Loren, walk now while you're listening. Walk in place. Habang Doc Fanny is here. Ayi is asking Doc, in relation with that, what are your tips naman for family or family members on the best way to hold space for loved ones who are depressed, anxious, and suicidal? Sometimes kasi when loved ones become too worried or overbearing, nakaka-stress, mas nakaka-stress dun sa person going through mental health issues.
Yeah. So parang imbes na makatulong dun sa, well, hold space for the depressed and anxious and suicidal. How do you hold space, no? Sometimes kasi loved ones can become so anxious about the depressed person that depressed person gets more stressed.
Yes, yes.
Pero remember also that it's the characteristic of a depressed person. Usually when the person is depressed and you try to help, parang ayaw siyang magpatulong. Parang in a family, when the person is depressed, for example, normally, you try to help, parang your help is not accepted. So parang you might feel rejected. So anticipate that the depressed person also has a hard time receiving, appreciating your efforts. So when you get frustrated, know that that is a usual thing because it's hard for them to accept that what your help. Parang
You said
suma-stress.
that, Doc,
Oh,
that kaya, di ba, hate is not the opposite of love. Indifference
yeah.
is. So if
Yes.
people are frustrated or worried about you, that means they love you kasi.
Yes. Yes, but ang sinasabi niya, tama yun, they love you. But when you're depressed, you cannot see that eh.
Ay, that's true.
It's so hard to appreciate what they're giving. So first, when the person is depressed in a family, I talk to the family. No, first you try something, and if he doesn't take it, don't feel personally. Don't take it personally. Don't feel bad that because that's usually normal. It's difficult for them to accept and appreciate. Okay. So, well, one is the bottom line, of course, is pag hindi na kaya ng family, you have to really go to a professional. If it's really a depression. Kasi marami ng elements yun, may biochemical, gano'n, no? And if it's a clinical depression, you cannot cure yourself, you cannot heal yourself by yourself. And maybe you need to get professional help if it's already really extreme. But if it's just like, nag-uumpisa pa lang, sadness, ganyan, maybe the best thing is to be with the person and listen. Listen. You don't have to solve a problem. You just listen. There's a certain magic about deep listening. No? Deep listening is like a miraculous thing because when you listen with your heart and soul, no, your whole body, your whole being, you're giving the person a very powerful subliminal message. What is it? Hindi yung, tell me more. Tell me more. Parang yung, even your whole body is talagang sincerely listening. You are holding the person by listening. How do you hold space? Hold space by listening deeply. When you're listening deeply to a person, you're giving a very important subliminal message, which is you are a worthy person.
I
You
love that.
matter. You
You
are
matter.
important. Yes. So you give the worth of the person, which is a basic psychological need, diba?
Yeah.
So and depression is a feeling of worthlessness and helplessness. No?
So again, Doctora, counter. Like,
Yeah.
diba, if you're stuck, then you move. If you
Mm-mm.
feel unworthy, that if somebody feels unworthy, then make them feel worthy by listening.
Mm-mm.
So
Mm-mm.
you just counter the well. That's how
Yes, yes,
to simplify.
yes, yes. When you pay attention and you listen, you give so much to that person. It's almost magical. The effect of actually listening. Because let me ask all of you listening now, in the past weeks or whatever, in the past have you ever experienced being listened to for 15 minutes without interruption? I doubt it. Usually the person will interrupt, will solve the problem, will do something about it, but may not really listen deeply. Kasi when you listen deeply, you accompany the person. You are with the person. I remember Pope Francis said to that girl in Tacloban, and she had a lot of problem, may abuse ata in the family. I can't remember the problem, but Pope Francis said something very, very significant. He said, I cannot take away your pain, but I will be with you with my open heart.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So you're accompanying the person, being with, listening, holding. Sabi niya, how do you hold space? How hold space, holding space. And then there's another important thing connected to this. It's from a book by Sharon Pema Chodron called uh, When Things Fall Apart. It says there's something I love. It's beautiful. When things fall apart,
Is this by Chinua
uh,
Achebe?
pardon?
Is it by Chinua from an
No,
act
by
by Sharon?
Pema, Pema Chodron. She said, when
Ah,
things fall apart, uh, it is a time of testing, but also of healing. We think that when things fall apart, there's a problem, we have to solve it. But it is never, sometimes it is never really solved. It falls apart and it comes together, falls apart, comes together, falls apart, comes together. The healing comes when you have room in your heart. You have room for you have room for grief, you have room for relief, you have room for misery, you have room for joy. That's when healing comes. You can hold the space. Yan ang question. Hold the space. So you have your heart has space for misery, it has space for joy.
oh,
Your
that's
heart has space for grief, it has space for relief. So you hold it all.
very
No.
wow. Pero also on
Mm.
that note, Dr. Honey, we're also in a time of healing now. Yes, things are falling apart now, but we're
Yes.
also at a time for healing.
Right. Yes. Yes. Because we are connecting, we are helping each other. You know, we are caring for each other, accompanying each other. So there's a time for healing also. There's also time we're not so hectic. The traffic, we don't have to go, mga ganon. There are also uh, benefits, no, of the pandemic.
Yeah. And I'll just go
Space.
back to another person who said, you talk about her papa kanina. She said, I
Hmm.
cried a lot because I'm scared that one day Papa will not be able to recognize us.
Yeah, I think the neurologist has a better answer for that. But as a psychologist, I think uh, it's a progressive. So what you do now, while you can connect with him in whatever way, do it now. For example, he likes ice cream. Give him ice cream. Huwag ka nang mag ano-ano mga restrictions. I mean, connect. You connect by knowing what he wants, and we're allowing him to do things maybe he never did before. Ganon. You allow him to experience what he was not allowed to experience, what he was deprived of, what gives him joy. Just use the time instead of feeling paralyzed or not able to do anything. You can do little things that will give big has a big effect on him and on you. Oo.
That's nice.
So
And
don't get frozen. Yeah, don't get stuck. Don't get frozen.
now for children naman, Doc. What last two questions na ha, because it's 1 hour already, and you know
Yes,
it's so fast, Doctor, talking to you. What are the possible effects to kids naman who are just staying at home and not socializing?
good question. It's really the online is really costing the kids emotional social development is stunted, no? And we have to accept it. So in other words, we're looking forward to at least partly face to face, no? Because even kids tell me that they really miss being with physically with their friends, and some of the kids I see are depressed because they cannot see their friends. So talagang let's just accept first of all that has an effect, and we do something about it. For example, at home, sino bang pwede niyang kalaro, or maybe virtual, pero pag one before this Delta variant, I had some kids different ages, no, and they could go to the open space like the park, and before that they could meet and see each other physically, or there's a house where there's open space like a terrace, pwede silang magkita kahit na once a week. Pero ngayon, I'm not sure, medically might be, but if they're vaccinated, I don't know. But if the kids are confined all the time and not able to relate physically, socially, their emotional social development is affected. I was asked that by the DepEd, the Senate Committee on Education, and I'm saying that yeah, we have to acknowledge that they are affected socio emotionally. So you do everything, maybe kahit na virtual play date instead of just school, instead of homeschooling, medyo masaya naman yung online interaction lang, messenger, whatever, ganon. Pero if there's any way that they can meet even just once a week physically, if it's na, wala na yung danger, I think if it's an open space, ganon, I think that's so different. So
Last
I'm sad to say that the social emotional development is really affected adversely. They get depressed. Even young kids, even a nursery child is telling me, "I miss playing in our playground, and I holding the hand of my classmate." Yung ganon. So there is really a big effect on children. So we do our best na lang to make them interact with maybe family, cousins, I don't know. Pero the safety factor kasi is so important also. So maybe yun ang sad thing.
what it may be. Right.
Yes.
Last question, Doc.
Yes.
Someone asking, when you say let's go back to the topic. When you say finding balance, does this also mean regaining or reclaiming your ground?
Yes, being in equilibrium or having equanimity, no, knowing that you are centered. So you center, no, you feel comfortable being there and being sabi niya yung grounded eh. When you're grounded, you are balanced, you have equanimity. No, equanimity is a very important um, virtue or attribute to have, because equanimity means you take things, you're able to accept things, difficult or not difficult, and still be in equilibrium. But remember that it's a natural process for your body and your whole system to seek equilibrium. But there's kasi many other things about balance, balancing between letting go and holding on, mga ganun, balancing being alone and being together. Marami ka ring titingnan about the kinds of balancing you do that make you, sabi mo nga, grounded. Yon, yon. I hope I answered the question.
Yes.
Mhm.
And that's all the time we have with Doc Honey. That's already 1 hour, Doc Honey. Para ang bilis-bilis.
Oh,
But
ang
before
bilis nga.
how they can reach you, but do you have other programs for MLAC
Yes,
in
yes. It will be in our website. We are, the one that's coming up is already closed kasi we're about 1,000 na on mindful parenting. But the next one in November is free also, and it's open. It's celebrating our anniversary. So we're not sure yet of the specific topic, but the main topic says, uh, what's this, going going through. I mean, you don't, you go in instead of outward.
I
You
know.
cope with this, you cope with this pandemic by going inward instead of just looking outward.
Oh,
No,
wow.
so
As
you
that's
look,
all, Doctora. Can we do
yeah,
like a short mindfulness exercise
yes, okay.
to close the session before
Three
you say
minutes.
your final
Wait,
words? Just
naku, I don't.
1 or 2 minutes.
Do you have a timer na lang? Because I don't have my timer here.
Ah, yeah, I can do that.
Okay. I'll tell you when it's mga 2 minutes, 3 minutes.
2 minutes. Yeah.
Okay, sige, okay. We'll start with the body. Okay, sit in a comfortable position where your back is straight and is strong and your chest is open so you can receive the blessings, that are coming to you. So your back is strong, your chest is soft and open, and your heart is open. And you sit in a very comfortable position, but sit with dignity. You feel your dignity when you're sitting, okay? So as you are sitting, be still, sitting with dignity, being still and being comfortable. We'll do a little breathing muna because breathing is essential. So inhale three times. Inhale, breathe in, breathe out. Your exhale is longer, and we notice when you exhale, your body starts to relax naturally. So inhale, your body is relaxing. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Okay, what we will do is maybe we'll do mountain solid, no, for nature. We'll do the images of nature in our imagination so that we will be able to relax. Okay, when we start the timing, when we start timing for 3 minutes, you think of a mountain. Imagine yourself as a mountain, and when you are a mountain, your shape is that you are solid. This is very important now to be solid, to be solid, grounded, because everything is so uncertain, everything is so fluctuating. So that one thing you can do is make yourself be solid. Okay. So the meditation is I see myself as a mountain, I feel solid. So when you're inhaling, I see myself as a mountain. Exhale, I feel solid. So you don't have to use all the words, you just go inhale, mountain, solid, mountain, solid. So think of a mountain. So we'll start with the 2 minutes. Can you start the timing, Karen?
Okay, Doctor.
Okay, it started na. There. Relax. Breathing, you see yourself as a mountain. Mountain, solid. Mountain, solid. I see myself as a mountain. I feel solid. Do it yourself. Mountain, solid. When your mind wanders, just go back to your breathing and say mountain, solid. Imagine a mountain. Feel solid. You'll do this for the next 3 minutes, and then the timer will announce the time. After 3 minutes, we will open our eyes. So close your eyes, or maybe if you're comfortable, close your eyes and pay attention to your breathing. Mountain, solid. Mountain, solid. Keep repeating it. Mountain, solid. Mountain, solid. When your thoughts wander, go back to the field. Imagine the mountain, solid. Mountain is solid, it's grounded. I'm solid, I'm grounded. Mountain, solid. Mountain, solid. Until the time is called. Just Keep repeating. Imagining a mountain, feeling solid. At the time?
The time's up na, Doctor.
Okay.
Doctor, even my voice has mellowed. Just after that 2 minutes.
Yeah. Parang na.
Yeah.
Solid. Okay, there you go.
Wow.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Doctor. Everybody's saying
Welcome.
their thank you. Mary Chris, Lilibeth, Meridel, everybody here.
Oh, I can see it. Yeah. Thank you
Yeah,
too.
they're
Hmm.
expressing their gratitude. And thank you so much for being with us. Like what you said, diba? At this point, we have to just really be with each other and know
Yeah.
that we're not alone.
Hold the space. Yes. Creating space. That's your thing.
Yes. And Dr.
Yes.
Hani, final words for everybody watching and listening.
Well, first of all, thank you for listening and know that you are not alone. And if you are feeling really, reach out to another person. If you're feeling really sinking, reach out to another person, any person. And then if you have to help, listen to the person. And of course, always take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Bottom line.
Thank you so much,
Okay.
Dr. Hani.
Okay.
And
You're welcome.
Dr. Han has more programs at MLAC Institute. I will put the website link on the comment box. But you can look for
Yeah.
MLAC Institute on FB and on YouTube. You should look at the YouTube videos. It's so nice. Like there's birds tweeting and the background is so nice. It's in the middle
Ah,
of a
talaga? Baka I can get a copy.
it's on YouTube, Doctora. It's so
It's on
beautiful.
YouTube. Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
Yeah,
okay,
this one
good.
is on you.
Okay,
I
good.
will send you a copy of this. But your YouTube videos are so nice because you're in the middle of the forest. So it's
Yeah.
so refreshing.
It's really healing. Nature. Okay.
So we won't keep you na, Doctor, but thank you so much for being with us. And thank you for being with us,
Welcome.
everyone. Bye for
Yes,
now.
welcome. Bye,